In today's video, we're working on the Hellcat swapped Ram 1500. So on the last video, we got a bunch of stuff done. And on this video, we are continuing. So this showed up a little bit early, well, a day or two early, which I was happy about. So we're gonna go ahead and install this. But before we do that, I'm gonna be putting on these Earl's fittings to adapt to our oil cooler lines. So I'm gonna install those. That way, when we have this mounted and we mount our oil cooler, we'll have both ends so that we can route our lines, measure them, and get all that sorted out. So I'm gonna take off these factory oil cooler lines, install those, and then we'll move on. Check it out. So we got our Earl's fittings on there. We use the Earl's aluminum wrench so that we didn't get any marks. I have actually taken these off. I put them on the Hellcat oil filter adapter, and then I took them off, and then I put them back on this one, and we don't even have a single mark, boys. So that wrench definitely works wonders on these aluminum fittings. Okay guys, it's actually a few days later. I've just been going ham on a bunch of different things. And just before I talk about the Ram, I actually believe I finally fixed the Hellcat and the starting issues. So just a little side note, I know this video is about the Ram, but I had a ton of starting issues with that thing. Ended up getting a new ground wire, installed the new ground wire, still was having issues, ended up going from front to back, checking all my ground straps, everything was still good. I have almost like 3/4 of an inch sized wire on that thing, and it's the factory Hellcat wire that runs from the back of the charger all the way to the front. So it's the original wiring, and it still was having issues starting. So only thing left was this Moroso cutoff switch. So we installed this cutoff switch so that we could go to the track, because if you relocate your battery from the factory position, you have to have a cutoff switch for most tracks, otherwise they won't let you on. And lo and behold, I went straight to the battery, and now this thing cranks faster than ever. The volts on the dash are showing the proper voltage, and I'm pretty sure it was just a stupid switch. And when I say stupid, I fully mean it, because this thing was like almost $200 by the time I bought this with the rod that connects to it. So I spent the money to have a good proper switch. It says that it's rated for 750 amps intermittent, which is more than enough to start the thing, but obviously whatever's going on inside it, it's probably, you know, manufactured overseas or something, and it just is not up to the duty of that Hellcat. So when I went straight to the battery, now it seems like we're okay. But what I'm working on right now is I just been doing some boring stuff, you guys. Just been getting all the wiring dressed back in and stuff like that. Not a whole lot different from what you guys saw. And I made up the radiator hoses as well. So hoses are made up, good to go. Again, just stuff that I had to tinker with, but wasn't overly exciting. So that's good to go. What I want to do now though is make up our oil lines for our oil cooler. So I showed you guys the oil cooler I was going to throw on, and I did put it on. Again, not a whole lot to see there, and you honestly can't even really see it. It's in there. And our oil filter, now you can hopefully see right there. So I screwed on the oil filter. And what I need to do is make up the lines from there to the front here where our cooler is going to be. So let's go ahead and get our cooler out. I do also have to switch out the adapter fittings on our OEM Mopar cooler. So here it is, and it's got the same lines that you guys saw that were on the actual adapter. So we're gonna take these out, put our Earl's fittings on here, and then we can get this mounted into our bracket, hang it, and then we can start measuring our lines and get our lines made up. All right, so factory fittings are out, new Earl's fittings are in. Let's go ahead and mount that in the bracket and put it on the truck. All right, so our oil cooler is mounted, as you can see there with the ducting. Again, all part numbers will be available for members in the member section. And what I'm gonna do right now is make up the lines. So I've got my fittings over here. I've got some Earl's -12 straights, and then I have some 45s. I don't know if I'm gonna need them, but we've got them on deck just in case. Let me get out that big beefy hose that we're gonna need for these lines, and we'll put on the straights at least, because we're gonna need straights coming off from the cooler, and then we can see what we need once we get to the adapter over by the oil filter. All right, boys, so we got one -12 line on here. If you guys have ever done dash 12, they are a bugger. So these ones take a whole grip of strength to get on here, but we got one on. I got 3 more to make. They're not fun, but let's go ahead and measure this line up, see where we gotta go, and then we can cut it to length. Okay, so here we are underneath. We've got our line coming up through here. And if I can get myself in the camera under here, there's our oil cooler adapter. And you can fit a straight, but it might be a little tight coming off through there. So, but before I actually crimp the line, I want to see what it'll look like with the line on it to see if it'll put a kink in it. So what I'm gonna do just temporarily is disconnect from here, and I'll bring it over here and connect it. And we'll see how it looks, and then we'll decide if we want to put 45 on that one. I think this one, we could probably get away with a straight on the inner side, but this one where it's a little bit closer to the frame, that one we might have to go with the 45, but let's find out. So there's what it looks like with the straight. It's not terrible. Probably, it's not ideal, but not terrible. Let me see what it looks like with the 45 in there. And then let's throw the straight on here just so we get an idea of what it would look like next to it. Yeah, hopefully you guys can see that. The camera's having a little bit of trouble maybe picking it up, but it looks like can't really run a straight and a 45 next to each other. It's gonna get kind of weird, so looks like we'll just end up putting a 45 on both of them. Even though the inner side technically doesn't need it, I think it's just gonna make for these to follow each other a little bit nicer. So let's go ahead and take this hose off here, and we'll measure it up to the 45 for our fitting, and then we'll cut it and make that line. So there's our tape mark. Let's take it off, cut it, put that fitting on. All right, so we got on here, we got our straight. Let's go ahead, test fit it, and then let's get working on the second line. Okay, so I went ahead and put a straight on this other line, just so while we're under there, we can connect this and we can mark this one for where we got to put our knee on the other side of it. This is a clean looking setup, you guys. So I just put some tie wraps here, just temporarily, just so I could get the right length based on how I wanted to have it. And then here's our line, and then there's the 45. And I'm just gonna measure it, and then I'm going to put our tape line where to cut it. We'll cut it, and then we'll throw that 45 on there. All right, our 45 is on, so I am done my workout for today. That was fun stuff putting these on, but they're on. So let's go double check them, and then I can flush them out. All right, so everything comes through here real nice, you guys. I didn't bother putting it on because I'm gonna have to do one at a time here, but you can see it reaches up to there. So I'm probably gonna end up putting that one on and tightening it first, and then I'll put the second one on and then tighten that one, because we got limited space up here, boys. But I'm gonna take them off and flush them out, and it's already late here, so I'm gonna resume in the morning. All right, it's the next day, you guys, and what I did was I flushed out the lines and I just got them tightened up. So I ended up actually flipping one of them because I didn't like the way one of them was running into the little bracket there. So I ended up putting the 45 over there, and then I got all our lines in here and tight. So I'm gonna put the alternator back in, tighten that down, and then I can also put the cooling pump back in and tighten that all down, and I don't have to take that stuff back out. I was just leaving this stuff out so I could get to these lines and tighten them, but now that that's all in, we're good to go. So you can see our filters right here now, and let's put all this stuff back together. All right, so we've got the alternator in here, you guys, so that's all good to go, and I can put our pump back in there as well, but not much to see there. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put the exhaust manifolds on. So like I mentioned to you guys before, I am gonna be doing a complete custom exhaust on this at some point, but just in the essence of time, what I am gonna be installing is these Hooker Blackheart log manifolds. So you guys can get these. They actually are a performance improvement over the stock cast ones. And not only that, but you guys know that these trucks are notorious for breaking the exhaust manifold bolts or studs. And this solves that problem because you get rid of the cast manifolds and warping and the stress that it puts on the bolts. You put these ones on, it actually comes with new bolts, and then all your problems are gone. You can even run the original heat shields if you want as well, and just a better piece, more performance and all that. So what I am going to be doing is putting these on again. I'll just say it for the third time because I know a lot of people are going to say that's too restrictive. We are going to be upgrading the exhaust. We will be upgrading the rest of it because it is going to be undersized for the size of engine. But for now, this will get the truck running, and then if we do have time before the show, we might be able to come up with something. But for now, we've got this, and I also have a really spicy catback exhaust that we're going to be putting on this thing as well. So this thing's going to bark even with this, but then we'll reassess it later on when we have a bit more time. But let's get these suckers on here. Okay, this is a super slick setup, you guys. So, and the nice thing is I did not have to use a wrench for a single bolt on this, which was nice. If you guys know and have ever installed any of the shorty headers or even long tubes, you got to get in there and spend hours each side with a tiny little wrench. You usually have to cut the wrench in half and just get tiny little turns in there, and it is an absolute pain. But I got this on in like 15 minutes, no problem. And like I said, was able to use all sockets and ratchets on this and get it all installed, and everything is good to go. So I didn't tighten this just yet because I still have to manipulate the other side because it's just hanging, so I don't want to snug this up just yet. But let's go on the other side to get our other header on here, and then we can button things up. Okay, so we've got our hooker Blackheart headers or manifolds in there, and now I'm gonna go ahead and just a bunch of random little things, you guys. I'm gonna go in and install our belt. No, it's not new, but it is a greenback belt, so I'm gonna throw it on here. Just a bunch of random stuff. Still waiting for the AC compressor. Tomorrow I'll be able to hopefully pick that up and get the correct one on there, and then yeah, just a matter of buttoning a bunch of stuff up, and then we got to move on to our fuel pump, but we'll probably accomplish that in the next episode. All right, so belt is on. I actually had to take off one of the pulleys just to get that belt on. And yeah, I had to take off the pulley just to get that on, but she's on. Let's move on to the next thing. All right, boys, it's the next day. I was gonna take the Hellcat, but obviously you can see it's about to rain, or it might even be raining over there. I'm going to pick up the AC compressor that I need to get in order to put everything together. And then I'm also going to pick up a wiper motor assembly because I still don't have wipers. Kind of fitting that we're talking about this right now, but this is for the Hellcat, and I was originally going to try to adopt the Hellcat wiring harness to the Dakota wiper motor, but they're so different, and the wiper motor on the Hellcat is actually a module, so there's a computer inside it, whereas the one on the Dakota is just plain Jane motor. So I'm gonna go pick this up, and then I'm gonna have to obviously customize it, make a new bracket for it and stuff like that, or see what we can use on this, but let's go pick that up as well. All right, so here is our AC compressor hanging out in there, and then over here is our wiper motor assembly that we've got from Thai Parts. So let's get back. All right, so we're back. Here's our AC compressor, and this is the one we needed because the Ram one does not fit. But if you guys are curious what one to get, again, this will be in the paid member section where I'll tell you which part number works, doesn't work, all that good stuff. Because I did have another one and it didn't work as well, so I had to figure out which one would actually work. So let's go ahead and get that in there, and then I still don't have the serpentine belt though. The accessory belt is supposed to be showing up later today, but I'll at least get the AC compressor on there, and we'll see what we get into next. But I think it might almost be a wrap for this video. Okay, so AC compressor's on, lines are routed, and what I am waiting for now is the belt actually did show up today, but this pulley right here, I need a different pulley. It's supposed to be a grooved pulley. It's not supposed to be like the smooth backside. So I ordered that, should be here tomorrow, and then I can put the belt on. And then mostly all this stuff up front is pretty much, with the exception of filling up with fluids, it's pretty much ready to go. I am waiting on this reservoir. I don't know what's going on. I ordered one and then they canceled the order on me. worst comes to worst, I may have to like just seal this up. Maybe I'll put some epoxy on the neck and just use it for now until I am able to finally get one, because I've had Car ID cancel my order and then I ordered another one and I still don't have a tracking number yet, so hopefully I do. So in the next episode, what we're gonna end up doing is I'm gonna throw the wheels on it, and then I have to get the bed off so that I can get the fuel pump stuff finished. So we're gonna be putting in a Holley fuel system on this, and I gotta take the bed off. It's gonna be the easiest way, is to lift the bed, work from the top, and get all that plumbed in. We also have to tie into our Holley fuel filter, and then I gotta wire up the fuel pump, and then we might be ready to start by the end of this week. Like I said, still gonna put fluids and everything, but just waiting until a couple more things, wait until the belt gets on so I can put in my upper radiator hose. Then we can fill this thing full of oil, coolant, and also our coolant for our supercharger. But I was just hoping that this bottle would show up so I didn't have to waste fluid. But that's pretty much it, you guys. There we go. We got our oil cooler. Lots on the way. Lots to get excited about. Like I said, we are getting really close to finally being able to power this thing up. I'm sure it's going to be unhappy about a few things, but we'll iron those out as they come up. But if you guys are enjoying this series and this content and this build, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.